Aloha and good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for tonight's event titled Community Conversation, Honolulu's Youth Commission Charter Amendment. My name is Trish La Chica, and I'm the president of the Young Democrats of Hawaii and also the Democratic nominee for the House of Representatives for District 36 here in Mililani and Mililani Mauka. Tonight's event is being sponsored by the Young Dems of Hawaii as well as the Oahu County Committee of the Democratic Party of Hawaii. We are joined, and I'm so excited that we are being joined tonight by Councilmember Tommy Waters. Tommy Waters is a lifelong resident of Hawaii and a dedicated public servant. He's a graduate of Kamehameha Schools, where he would earn his bachelor's degree in political science, also from UH Manoa, and would also earn a law degree from the Richardson School of Law. He has served on the neighborhood board, is a public defender, was a Hawaii state representative, and has volunteered for the Native Hawaiian Legal Corporation in the Kawainui Marsh Task Force. He is currently Honolulu City Council member for District 4, which extends from Hawaii Kai to Ala Moana. Good evening, Council Member Waters.
Aloha, Trish La Chica. Thank you so much for putting this together. Thank you. Thank the Young Democrats, the Oahu County Committee, and mahalo to the Democratic Party as well. I got the email myself inviting me, and I was so excited to see, hey, look, the Democratic Party is getting involved, spreading the word. So thank you very, very much for doing this.
Yeah, so first things first, today is a very exciting day because for many, many households, at least on Oahu, is we received our ballots in the mail today, and I got my ballot. It's nothing quite receiving the ballot and of course seeing your name on the ballot, but we're going to be talking about an important ballot measure. But before we do that, Councilmember, are there any important reminders and tips that you want to share with folks about voting and why voting is important in this year's election?
Absolutely. I just wanted to point out that make sure you get your ballot in quickly. They check your signature. If there's any irregularities with your signature, if it doesn't match your voter registration, your vote won't be counted. But if you vote early, you can actually call the Honolulu City Clerk's office and they'll tell you if your signature is matched and your vote was accepted. They're not going to open up your actual ballot until election day, but they do check signatures as it arrives. So as long as you vote early, you can double check to make sure your vote is counted.
And was it, you have until October 27th to get your ballot in the mailbox. And I think it was beginning October 20th, you can vote in person or register to vote beginning October 20th at Kapolei and Honolulu Hale.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And you can walk in, register, and vote. So if you have friends, family, neighbors who haven't voted or aren't registered, please remind them that they have same-day registration. We have our legislature to thank for that.
Okay, so showing you my ballot. On the second page are it says proposed amendment to the Honolulu City Charter. So I'll read to you the proposed charter amendment that we're going to be discussing today, which is question number 2. So shall the revised city charter be amended to establish a youth commission under the managing director, yes or no? Council member, I understand that this idea of this county youth commission came from your office. Can you talk a little bit about what inspired you to introduce this idea?
Absolutely. It was so exciting when we were fighting for on Bill 40, dealing with single-use plastics. And young people came out of the woodwork to testify. We would have 4, 5, 6-hour hearings. And young people came out and said, you know, this is our Hawaii. This is our earth. They kind of point the finger at my generation saying, you guys brought all this plastic. Now we got to deal with it. And, you know, it really touched home for me. That was absolutely right. These young people were right. And when they unfurled this huge poster board that spanned 10 feet high and 40 feet wide, with signatures of all young people. And you know what? They're the reason why it passed. I wasn't sure if we had the votes, right? I knew we had 4 solid, but you need 5. And guess what? When they came out in force, we got, I believe, 8 people to vote for it, which was amazing, just amazing.
So what did it take to pass the Youth Commission? I understand it was a resolution through City Council.
That's correct. So basically, you have to get it passed through 3 full council meetings, and it's supposed to go through 2 committee hearings. Initially, Ron Minor had a little bit of problems with it because you have to be a registered voter to be on the commission. And of course, 14-year-olds can't register to vote. But we were able to work out the kinks. So it actually went through 3 full committee hearings, 3 full council hearings, and that put it on the ballot for November. Of course, there was a timing issue as well, because if we didn't get it passed in time, it wouldn't have been on the ballot. So it was touch and go there for a minute, but ultimately we got the support, and now it's on our ballot.
And remind me what percent of voters are needed to pass the charter amendment on the ballot, and do blank votes count do blank votes count?
Excellent question. That's why it's so important to vote on this. So you need 50%, 50% plus 1 vote for it to pass. And blank votes do not count, or excuse me, let me clarify. Blank votes are no votes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you believe, as I do, that this is an important measure, you gotta vote yes. You cannot leave it blank.
Yeah, I know, it's really about, you mentioned earlier, just being inspired by our youth. We always hear about how our youth here in Hawaii have the lowest turnout in have the lowest voter turnout. And it's often, as somebody who works with youth, because we've been working on an issue to regulate vaping at the state level for years now, is they often feel that they don't have a voice in the decisions that are being made that'll impact their future. So how can we unite young voters to get behind this charter amendment, because this would be a vehicle to provide them with that voice, at least for the city and county of Honolulu?
No, absolutely right. Well, we need to tell all of our friends and family how important this is. Tell your uncles, your aunties, your parents, like I said, your fellow students. Everybody needs to be aware that this is really important. We those of us, who are in politics, all of us actually, we're all on the Democratic Party. We know that we're trying to get young people involved, right? And in many respects, young people believe that they don't really have a say. And so why vote? Well, this actually gives you that say. You have direct access to your council members and your mayor, and we're gonna listen to you. And in fact, each council member will be appointing 1 youth from their district, and the mayor will appoint 6. So it's really exciting. So each district's going to be represented, and the feedback that I'm getting from the current council members is that they're really excited about this, and they really want young people to get involved. And this is a perfect opportunity.
Great. And so you mentioned that, remind us again, what are the ages to be able to be eligible to serve on the Youth Commission? And if when it passes, what's the next step for youth that are interested in serving in the Youth Commission?
So the ages are 14 to 24, and of course, once you turn 18 to be on a commission or a board in the city and county, you have to be a registered voter, which is a good thing. But I believe the mayor has to make the rules, the administrative rules that will be governing how the commission will be run. Each commission, like I said, each council member will appoint 1, the mayor appoints 6. It'll be for 2-year terms. And let's see. The initial appointment shall commence no later than August 1st, 2021. So basically, the mayor, the new incoming mayor, has a few months to set up the rules to make sure, well, to set up the rules so that there's some guidance. But the appointments have to be made by August 1st, 2021.
So next, let's talk about what type of action, what type of issues can the youth commissioners influence, once it's established? What type of issues are you excited about that this youth commission can tackle?
Well, first, they could talk about the policies that are currently in place, how we want to change policy, needs assessments, priorities, programs, budget concerns. I mean, the sky's the limit. It really is. We could talk about how to solve the affordable housing crisis that we're in, how to solve the homelessness crisis that we're in. We talk about Ala Moana TOD, right? There's a bunch of hotels being built in the Ala Moana area. And, we rely on the neighborhood boards on the council, right, to advise us. And I would love to hear from young people. How do they feel about building new hotels over Ala Moana Shopping Center or on Kapiolani Boulevard? Where should we direct growth for our city? I mean, these are all really, really important projects that are going to affect all of us, but especially young people, because, I like to think I'm still young, but I'm not. I only have so many more years on this earth. But young people between the ages of 18 and 24 are going to be here for a long time. It'd be great if they weigh in on all these issues.
You're right. And, we're in pandemic times right now, and COVID-19 at least will not go away anytime soon. If anything, we can also hear from youth on how we can tackle or reimagine. I think we're at a point where we're reimagine how decisions are being made, how we're restructuring services and programs, how we're reaching families and communities. And what is the best way right now, as we're waiting for the result and the establishment of this charter? What's the best way for youth to get involved in not just at the county level, as a former state representative? How can youth get involved in decision making that impacts their communities, their generation?
Well, as I said, for Bill 40, you could testify on any measure you want, and it's all computerized. It's super easy. And I would suggest people put their age and say, hey, I'm a young Democrat. I believe in this. I'm a young person. This is important to me. That's easy. And I actually have a list of organizations where young people could get involved. If you don't mind, I'd like to just read this because it's numerous and I don't want to leave anybody out. But the YMCA, Young Progressives Demanding Action, Youth Services America, Vote 16 Hawaii, University Lab School, Sierra Club of Oahu, Pacific Asian Affairs Council, Kaho'omiki, Hawaii Council on Physical Activity and Nutrition, Hawaii Youth Services Network, Hawaii Public Health Institute, Hawaii Youth Food Council, Hawaii Kids Can, Hawaii FFA, Hawaii Executive Network, Hawaii Strikes Back, Hawaii After School Alliance, Bridge Club Hawaii, Blue Zones Project, 9/11 Tomorrow Together, and Age-Friendly Honolulu, and many, many more organizations. And these are all the folks that are supporting and voting yes on Amendment 2. But these are just one of a few of many, many organizations that people can get involved with.
And I think Bill 40 is a good example, right? I feel like as somebody who works in public health issues, there's always the opposition. And there's a lot of, big money, special interest groups that do get in the way of important issues that the youth fight for. So what would be what are your thoughts on that? And what is your what is your approach to dealing with the opposition?
Well, it's interesting. Again, talking about Bill 40. So the restaurants actually and the food industry came out super organized, lots of money, and they came out and had a rally on Honolulu the lawn of Honolulu Hale, and probably like 200 people came out, news cameras there, signs and everything like that. In fact, they had my name and Joey Manahan's name plastered on zippies as you go and pay for your food. You know, they had my phone number on the counter at Zippies and 7-Eleven. But young people got together and the very next day, they had their own rally on the lawn at Honolulu Hale with twice the amount of members. And the media came down and they were super articulate and intelligent, saying, hey, this is important to us, right? And it was so moving. And for anybody watching that on TV, I have to think that they were impressed by that as well.
So I'm so excited about this ballot measure. Let's talk about you. So you are a dad with 2 children. What type of community issues do they talk to you about?
Oh my goodness. So, you know, they were talking to me about single-use plastics before I got elected, right? And in fact, I'm reusing my McDonald's cup for water because I can't throw it away, right? It's like this thing is like weeks old. But my kids are growing up seeing homeless people down the street from our house. You know, when I was growing up, this problem wasn't here. You know, and they're like, Dad, like, what's going on? Why can't we solve this problem? You know, I'm the 5th of 6 kids who were all born and raised right here. As you mentioned, I went to Kamehameha schools. I'm part Hawaiian. My dad was Hawaiian. He went to St. Louis High School. But I'm the only one left here in Hawaii. All my siblings live on the mainland. My parents moved to the mainland and passed away on the mainland. And I'm fighting for people like my kids and your kids and everybody so that they can stay here and live here and raise their families here, because it scares me to death to think that my kids are going to move to the mainland and never come back. And that's so sad, so sad. So it's that kind of things that we talk about, right? Because they're already saying they want to go away to school. And that terrifies me to think that they'll never come back. I joke with them. I'm a UH Manoa grad. I'm like, hey, that's Harvard of the Pacific, right? UH Manoa. But yeah.
Yes, I think we might have some time for any audience questions on Zoom. I think you might have to unmute yourself to ask a question, but does anybody have questions for council member and on the amendment?
Well, before we do that, I have a question for you, if that's okay.
Of course, sure.
As a young Democrat, as a mom, and as a resident of Mililani, what issues are important to you? And when elected, what are you going to be fighting for?
Yeah, you know, as somebody who's a young mom, working mom, a lot of working families issues matter to me. But I always say it's similar to you. It's about my kids. I have 2 kids under the age of 4. So they're quite a handful, and especially during running for office during a pandemic. But I want them to have a future here. As somebody who works with the Young Democrats of Hawaii, you know, I'm so inspired. We have a newly elected board. Many of them are on Zoom with us right now, and we're really invested in, you know, raising up just the voices of our young Democrats and issues that matter to them, but also getting more young people elected and involved in office. And I'm just so excited for the future. If elected, my topmost priority will be on getting this virus under control so that we can reopen safely, so that we can get our economy back. We can start on working on diversifying our economy. But really, I think public health and safety must come first, at least my immediate priorities if elected. So thanks for that question.
No, of course. And I know we had a short conversation before this started. COVID makes the campaign a lot more difficult, but um, to the extent that I can help with your campaign or my campaign team as well, we'd love to see you elected and serving your community in the State House of Representatives. And actually, when you get there, I think you're going to do a great job.
Thank you. And I think your staff are on the call, so I think that's their, you guys heard that, right?
My campaign team, yeah.
Does anybody have any questions before we wrap up?
Again, it's yes on two.
Yes.
Yes on two. Just remember that and tell everybody.
Is there a website that they can find more information about? I think it was Youth on Oahu. What's the website?
Youth4Oahu.org. Youth4Oahu.org. And if you folks, well, I'm not sure if we could go out and maybe do solo sign waving, but just get the word out. Let all your friends, neighbors, family know yes on two. So important to get youth involved. So excited when this actually happens.
Can I ask, are there ways to assure that, I don't imagine there are going to be magnificent sums required to fund this program. Can you get commitments from the people that need it in the administration that this will be funded to get it off the ground?
Well, as I mentioned, there's going to be a new mayor. And we will be budgeting it at the council. So I'll work all of my might to ensure that it's properly budgeted.
Okay.
We got to make sure it's through the managing director's office. So we got to just be that squeaky wheel to make sure the rules are set. I'm certainly going to push my fellow council members to make their appointments on time. And I think it'll be fine.
Okay, good. Reassuring. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. Any other questions or comments for any of the supporters for Yes on Q? Okay, I think with that, we're about out of time. Again, I wanted to, thank everyone for joining us tonight. Councilmember, do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share before we end the meeting, the Zoom event?
Yes, again, I want to thank you, Trish, for all the hard work that you're doing in your district and for the Young Democrats. I want to thank all the Young Democrats for all the hard work that they do. I want to thank the Oahu County Committee. I see Lorna Strands on here as well, and Rich Halverson and Ian Ross, who had helped put this together. We couldn't have done it without you folks. And I'm so proud to be a Democrat and so proud to be together with you folks here tonight. And I look forward to many, many more meetings just like this, because this is so important. It's like a coffee hour that we're doing that we can't do anymore. So this is actually great, and we should do this more often. I think someone mentioned earlier in the call, if we could do this on other issues, and I'm happy to participate and happy to facilitate as well.
Thank you so much, Councilmember, and thank you for spearheading this initiative. And thanks to all the supporters, all the organizations you've mentioned, and of course our youth. Our youth are our future leaders. So with that, thank you again to Oahu County Committee for the Democratic Party of Hawaii. Thank you on behalf of the Young Democrats of Hawaii. Please join us if we're always looking for new members. And finally, to everyone watching, I know this will be posted online soon. Take care, stay safe, wear your mask, social distance and sanitize. Good night, everyone. Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember.
Okay.
Thank you, Lorna.
Thank you. Aloha.